Hey, Goluk. You like big-ass monsters that go into high-population cities, destroy absolutely everything they can while eating whatever they can see, often holding energy-based superpowers like psychic powers, radiation beams, or sonic screams?
I've seen Godzilla. Great movie.
Yeah, I know. I want to review an RPG that lets you play as a kaiju, and I've found a lot of games that let you play the mechas that fight the kaiju, but I can't find one that lets you play the kaiju.
That's no good. So, why you bringing this up?
Well, when I look into some games that have monsters, I've really only found one that kind of lets you play a Godzilla.
Really? What's that?
Okay, so in order to start this, I need to point out a few things. From what I understand, this game was designed by a single guy. You can find it on DriveThruRPG, which I will be linking down below, as much as I am going to be shitting on this game. I do want you people to find new games and try them out, and support smaller creators of tabletop RPGs. Monsters and Other Childish Things, a game on the darker thematics by Benjamin Bao. I'll admit a lot of the themes of this game and the wording, I'll need to censor myself and try not to read directly from the book. It does involve you playing as a child in high school at the oldest, with the fears that a helicopter parent would have about their children. It has a lot of dark themes and is not a game for everyone. That's one score knocked pretty low already, finding a group. Now, with this warning in mind, let's get into it. I looked into what dice it used and was met with a very odd thing. Something I think it as a poor design choice. This game says it uses the one-roll engine system in order to play, but that it's primarily based on the Wild Talents game, though you can use Godlike, Nemesis, or Rain by Greg Stolz. And then it goes into how to use Rain. You should add organizations and companies and such into the game with that, but then it says you'll need a bunch of D10s, and looking into it later, it seems to be a dice pool system. Now, let's talk about the ore system for a moment. I found a PDF of how the game works, and its character information chapter has 44 different subchapters. It has 20 pages long just going over how the characters work. Skills have 57 different subchapters, and a lot have sub-subchapters. And you know what's even funnier? You don't need jack shit of those other system guides, really. The game explains itself rather quickly and to the point. It describes what each thing is and how to roll dice in the second chapter. It touches on how to create characters, but only in a vague sense of it at this point. You roll a number of dice equivalent to your skill and your stat. You add the dice together to get the number up to 10 dice. I honestly like this. It's pretty simple to understand the dice pool system, but it keeps referencing the ore system despite the fact it doesn't need to. It gave its description. Saying it uses this system is more than well enough from a legal standpoint, really. Stats are as follows. Feet, which is your moving and kicking, guts, which is your courage and finesse, hands, which is your punching, blocking, and stealing, attention, which is your perception and overall knowledge, and wits, which is your sarcasm and riz. Did I just say that?
Even though I cringed at that.
It goes into more details about adding dice to the pool, including something called relationship dice, which seems to tie to a skill. For example, if some kid says, "My paw can beat your paw," and you have 5 in your paw relationship, you can add 5 more dice to roll to return the insult or break their nose. Honestly, this section about dice has a lot of subsections, and I'm realizing that the ore book is absolutely less than worthless here. So this book asks you to get something you have absolutely zero need on, but has a slim audience. It's unlikely anyone will know it without already getting it. Character creation goes in 5 steps. These break into more steps, but these steps are pretty straightforward. Name and stuff is pretty standard. Essentially just fill out your flavor stuff that you'll need. Name, age, favorite things, bad things about you, good things about you, rumors, both true and false, and such. I can see this being filled out as the game progresses, though, and you figure out your character. I have to do that sometimes in games I play. Stats we just mentioned before. Each stat starts at 1. You have 5 dice to divvy up between these. Nothing can be more than 5 though. Each stat has 3 skills. Let's go over them real quick because I didn't do that earlier. Feet has PE, kicking and dodging. Guts has wind, as in breathing. Courage and wrestling. Hands has shop, which seems more like workshop than buying. Punching and blocking. Attention has outthink, remember and notice. And wits has charm, put down and connive. Each of these skills will start at 0. You have 15 dice to divide among these with no more than 5 in any one skill. Then you have relationships, which you can fill on your own. Friends and family and such. You get 6 dice. 5 can be split among these relationships, with the last being put into an extra slot that is very special individual we're about to go into for the last part of this creation summary. Monsters. What is a monster? It seems it really depends on your GM. This game says that they may be imaginary friends that take actual form because of raw psychic might of children. They may also be actual creatures from another world or realm or in between that protect a chosen child. There's a few things about the monsters we need to go into. Now, let's talk about this relationship thing with a monster that I talked about a minute ago. The relationship seems to be partially a currency. You can gain and lose them and even trade them with one another. Your monster gains the most from taking them, as they literally eat relationships. This isn't just a metaphor. Your monster, if they feel they need to, might actually eat the person you sold to it. And if there's nobody to sell to the monster, they might just eat you if they start getting slapped. The book then goes into conflicts instead of monsters for some reason, but it says that all encounters are solved with a roll versus roll thing. So if I wanted to punch you, you'd have to then roll a block, and the higher number wins. Pretty simple. You can tap a relationship in order to get more dice in the pool, but never more than 10 dice total. And I imagine that relationship can't be used until your rest, but that's just an assumption. This section honestly has some words I don't really understand, but I'm going to skip it for now because I really want to talk about the monster.
Biggin!
Yeah, the biggin! According to the book here, monsters are from a place called somewhere else, unquote, and don't need anything from the material world to live. They look after the kids they choose, and they can't be seen by anyone without a monster themselves. And monsters can't die. All monsters know each other, and nothing can stop a monster except another monster. Honestly, the monster is ridiculously powerful, but they still have rules, which sort of contradicts itself, but it also makes sense if we look at this as though the child who the monsters have written this book. But that also points out a few problems as well. Let's go into scoring real quick. I'm giving this some good and bad things. It references a system that's difficult to get into. It could be insanely simple to explain, but it also assumes you've played the ore system, adds extra levels, and it touches into subjects that make me really uncomfortable. It's got some great ideas, a good simple system, and a great idea for setting, but it tries so hard, but not near hard enough too. I give this an 82%. I do recommend paying for it. It's a good $15 on drive-thru. It's really not a bad game, but it's just got some mistakes from the guy who did this alone. Getting people to play will be insanely hard, and it references 4 or more different games in order to play it. Now, Gollick, get the fuck out. I need to make you some Christmas gifts.
Who's Chris again?
Shut up and shove off.